Hello, and welcome to our first section of the Fundamentals of SQL Foundations course. This first section is about SQL statement foundations. So we're going to go over basic statements that you will use in SQL. First thing we're going to start off with is the basic select statement. So each section is going to begin with our goal of each type of statement, the general syntax, and then a few examples after that. So you'll see me typing along with you. These are notes that are inside the notes files where you can copy and paste and just follow along if you would like. So the goal of any select statement is to pull data from a database. The data is returned in a table-like structure, and it's the most used action on a database. We think of a select statement as a shopping list. So whenever we're thinking about what we need from our database or our tables, we want to create this shopping list for our select statement. So the basic syntax of a select statement is select our column names from our table name. Very simple, very straightforward. But there's also a way where we can select all the columns from a specified table. And for that, we would use a select star. Now, real world examples, I wouldn't recommend using select stars because then you could return hundreds of thousands, if not millions of rows from your database. And ultimately it might crash your system. You don't want to do that. So in that example, we are going to select all from our sample DVD rental database. What we're going to do here, though, is instead of selecting everything, we're just going to limit it to 10 so we don't select everything from our database because that's going to return a lot of rows. So I'm going to type out select star from our DVD customer table. And I'm going to limit this to 10 rows. So you might be asking or thinking, well, how did you know that it was a DVD customer table? Well, if I'm looking on the left here is where our database objects are, and I click on the public schema, this is going to bring up all of our tables. I'm very familiar with the DVD rental database. You may not be, but I do think that you should look through and identify what tables we have and just think about what columns go in what tables. So if we run this query, we're going to get everything from the DVD customer table, and it's limited to 10 rows. The only thing that's ordered here is the row number. The customer IDs are all out. The store IDs are all out of order. The first name, last name, they're not in alphabetical order. So there is no particular order in a select all statement or in any basic select statement. That's something that we can figure out later. In our next lesson, we're going to do the order by where we can sort either ascending or descending, but let's continue to focus on the select statement. So another example, let's say our shopping list, we need to identify the first name, the last name, and the email of all of our customers from the customer table. So what we're going to do is think of that shopping list. So let's write select. Well, we need our first name, our last name, and the email. Now we need to think about, well, what table am I pulling this from? Well, if we're thinking about all of our customers, it's going to be in the customer table. So from DVD underscore customer. And if I run this query, I need to think about, well, what am I expecting to return? I'm expecting I'm going to get 3 columns, the first name, the last name, and then the email. So let's run this and see what we get. And that's exactly what we get. Our first name, last name, and the email of all the customers from our customer database. Well, if we only wanted to get those 3 columns, I want to think about, well, why wouldn't we just use select star and select everything? Again, this comes down to efficiency and not wanting to overload your server. This was the basics to a select statement lesson. Remember that the goal of any select statement is to just pull data from your database, and I like to think of it as a shopping list where we can make a list and then think about where we want to pull that information from. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next lecture.